everyone, Emily Graziano here, and because yesterday, May 26th, was John Wayne's 114th birthday, I would like to use the day after his birthday, because I didn't get a chance to post yesterday, to talk about 10 underrated John Wayne films, in my opinion. I think that these are just great films that go overlooked because the Duke had such a vast catalog of great films that there are some that just flew under the radar, but you watch them today and you're like, wow, how come this one wasn't as big as Stagecoach or The Searchers or Rio Bravo? So with that, I will name 10 films. I'll get started. And before I go any further, I'd like to dedicate this video to my Uncle Alan, because I think I'll be mentioning some films in here that he really loves. So Uncle Alan, I hope you're watching this, and if you are, I just want to say, hey, I miss you, and I love you, and I hope we can see each other again soon. So first one on here, from 1941, Shepherd of the Hills. This I have mentioned before in a previous video that I got for Christmas. It's a very, very good movie. It is a little bit weird as there's like this curse element, and I think that's part of the source material. In all honesty, I kind of wish John Ford would have directed this film, because he would have made it more sentimental in the sense of the characters' interactions and relationships with each other than the emphasis on the curse. Directed by Henry Hathaway, though, another John Wayne collaborator. But it's still really good. This movie may be the best ending in a John Wayne film, where you just go, oh my god, the ending! So, Shepherd of the Hills is just a really good movie. It was slightly weird, but the ending and the acting by Harry Carey Sr. is unparalleled. I do recommend it. It's a great movie. Second movie on this list is a war film from 1942 called The Flying Tigers. The Flying Tigers is a great movie. It's so good, and I know a lot of people accuse it of being an Only Angels Have Wings ripoff, but even if it is, who cares? It's Only Angels Have Wings John Wayne style. I mean, Only Angels Have Wings is great. Cary Grant, Howard Hawks, made in 1939. This is 1942. And it may have a very similar plot, but it does have a World War II connection, as they are helping the Chinese after the Japanese invasion. So it's a really, really good movie. Underrated. Anna Lee, a John Ford favorite, it plays John Wayne's leading lady. It's very, very good. It's a great film, and I highly recommend it. Up next, from 1943, the movie with Jean Arthur and John Wayne, A Lady Takes a Chance. I've heard a lot of polarizing reviews about this film, but I'm in the camp that does like it because I love Jean Arthur, and John Wayne makes a great leading man for her. Jean Arthur, at this point, she was on her way out. She only had a very, very few films left to make, but I'm glad one of her final films turned out to be this film, because Jean Arthur, she's just so great. And I always say, every time I watch a movie with Jean Arthur, my eyes may be on her leading man, but my ears are always on Jean Arthur. And I just think Jean Arthur in general is just an underrated leading lady. But John Wayne, this is a very funny movie because John Wayne, his character is actually named Duke, so it's like, oh my gosh, that's pretty cool. But the plot is, Jean Arthur goes on like this cross-country like trip where she goes, she ends up at this like rodeo show or something, and John Wayne literally like falls off of his horse in the show and into her lap, and that's how they meet and they hang out together like at the saloon, and they play games. There's a really funny scene in which they try cactus milk together. It's really cute. This is just a funny movie. It's more comedic, and I think it's just great Western with John Wayne. Well, it's like comedy Western with Jean Arthur and John Wayne. I highly recommend it. It's going out of print, people. Kino is putting it out of print, so I highly recommend you pick it up if you're even remotely interested. Up next, from 1944, is actually the first John Wayne movie that was ever shown on television. It is from 1944, Tall in the Saddle, with Ella Raines, Ward Bond, Gabby Hayes. This is a really, really underrated John Wayne movie. The pacing and the acting and the storyline is just great. I can't even begin to describe the storyline, but you start watching and you go with it. Ward Bond, though, notably plays John Wayne's enemy, which is kind of bizarre, because you're like, wait, Ward Bond is always the Duke's #1 backup guy in anything, and to see him play opposite John Wayne as the guy against him just proves his acting ability, and it's just so great to see those men play different parts. And Ella Raines, an underrated leading actress who did more film noir than anything. I haven't seen her in anything else yet, but I am very interested. I think she was in The Suspect with Charles Laughton. I really want to see that movie. But it's no mistake that this was chosen to be the first John Wayne movie on TV. I highly recommend, if you find it, watch it. I can't even really describe the plot because the plot's really secondary, but it's just so good. Up next, I may or may not have mentioned this movie on this channel, but I want to really say this is a highly, highly underrated piece of John Wayne's work. From 1947, the first movie John Wayne ever produced, Angel and the Bad Man. I can't say enough about this. I still feel it's underrated because whenever anyone mentions the top John Wayne films, this goes ignored. I can't say enough goodness about this movie. Enough goodness, is that even a term? But Gail Russell, Harry Carey Sr., John Wayne he plays a cowboy and comes across a pacifist family that Gail Russell is a part of, and Gail Russell and John Wayne's characters, they fall in love, but there's that element of, oh, John Wayne, he needs to get revenge, but he loves the girl, and it's all that, but it has a great ending. Again, John Wayne knew what he was doing when he took on a role of a producer. I cannot emphasize how important this movie is, so I don't want to ruin it for anyone, but hey, it's in the public domain. It should be on YouTube. If you want to see it, definitely do not skip it. Up next is actually kind of a John Wayne... No, not kind of. What am I talking about? It's a John Wayne classic, but I still feel it goes really ignored in terms of essential John Wayne films. Like, it doesn't even make the list sometimes. From 1948, directed by Howard Hawks, Red River. I feel this film, like I said, goes entirely overlooked. I just wish more people would give it a chance and just know how brilliant this film is. Shout out to my pal Les Wadley, who says every time he watches this film it gets better, and yes, I agree. It's a very, very different sort of Western that wasn't really explored at the time it was made, and very few Westerns since have even explored it. It's all set on a cattle drive, and if you watch the bonus features, especially if you have the Criterion Collection version, what's his name? That's bad. Peter Bogdanovich, he explains how the beginning is basically usually where a Western would end, with it has like the guys with the girls and saying goodbye to their women and everything, and it's a very interesting study in how Howard Hawks crafted the story and how they were able to use the camera to create the illusion of tons and tons of cattle without, again, this is no special effects. I highly think it goes just under the radar in terms of his best films when it really should be counted as one of his best films. So, Red River. Next, I have a film that is one of my late grandfather's favorite John Wayne movies, from 1953. Yes, 53. Island in the Sky. This movie is so good, and it's so different for John Wayne, but that doesn't mean it's any that doesn't mean that the quality in the story is less or the acting is terrible. It's different, but John Wayne makes it work. It's a survival story. Dooley's down. John Wayne plays a pilot, and it goes down, and they have to survive in like on a frozen lake, and they have to get a signal on what they call a coffee grinder back to the headquarters, and they have limited food, limited batteries, surviving the elements, and it's very, very good. My grandfather, I think he counted this as one of his favorite films because he used to fly like planes. The plane that John Wayne flies, he flew a plane similar to John Wayne, so I think that's why he considered it to be one of his favorites. But I highly, highly recommend it. Island in the Sky. Great cast. This was done by John Wayne's production company when he was with Robert Fellows, the Wayne Fellows production, so John Wayne was producer on it. It's a really great movie. Next, from 1957, is a biopic that John Wayne was in, actually with Maureen O'Hara, and it was his reteaming with John Ford after The Searchers. It is 1957, The Wings of Eagles. I think this movie goes, again, under the radar because it's not a John Wayne, John Ford Western, but Maureen O'Hara is also in it. I think it's only mentioned sparingly, and it's not really elaborated on because John Wayne is playing a real-life person. Maureen O'Hara is playing a real-life person. And Ward Bond plays a spoof of John Wayne. I'm sorry. Ward Bond plays a spoof of John Ford. He plays a director, John Dodge. And like Ford, it's really funny because he uses John Ford's real-life cane, his pipe, his Oscars are on display in the office that Ward Bond's character is using. It's really funny. And I know some people say this movie is boring, but I actually think it's very, very good because it's interesting. It makes you want to find out more about Spig Weed and his wife and his life, and it's very, very interesting. He's not just a character, he's playing someone in real life. So I think it's highly, highly underrated. You should check it out. Next, I have a pick that is my friend Teresa. This is one of her favorite John Wayne movies. So Teresa, if you're watching this, you know what movie I'm about to bring up from 1961. The Comancheros, or the Comancheros. I've heard it pronounced both ways. I'm not actually sure which way you're supposed to pronounce it. Great movie. I mean, John Wayne, he directed this movie basically, but didn't take the credit because Michael Curtiz was such a renowned director. He was a directing legend by this point, and he didn't want to diminish the fact that he was too ill to direct. So he just went uncredited, and that was fine by John Wayne. This movie is so good. It's very episodic, but it doesn't matter because the characters are so interesting. You just care about the characters. And John Wayne, he doesn't have a leading lady in this movie, but it doesn't matter because he's like the older male mentor to Stuart Whitman's character. And it's brilliant. It's like a buddy-buddy thing, and it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. It goes underrated. And Patrick Wayne is in this movie too, and his character, I don't want to spoil it, but like, I think it's kind of unfair what happens to his character, because you're watching and you're like, what? That's not fair! You can't do that to Patrick Wayne. But the interesting thing is, I will say this, Patrick Wayne, he had to learn to ride a horse properly for the camera, because he did his scene where he's riding the first time, and John Wayne basically berated him and said, "You're gonna learn to ride a horse, or you're gonna get out of this business." And then Patrick spent the week working on it, and then he went back and he did the scene. Then he watched himself and he said, "Yeah, my dad was right. I look way better than I did the first time." So John Wayne knew how to ride a horse regularly and for the camera. There you go. Comancheros. It's Great film. And the final film, Uncle Alan. You know what film I'm about to bring up. I don't even have to give a hint. It's my Uncle Alan's favorite film, but for the rest of you, from 1968, The Green Berets. My Uncle Alan maybe wouldn't speak to me again if I didn't mention The Green Berets. No, I'm just kidding, Uncle Alan. You're awesome. You would still speak to me. But just to be safe, The Green Berets is a highly underrated film. Controversial at the time of its release, but I think it is a good story to tell. And Uncle Alan, the helicopter sequence is not that bad for 1968. I gotta give it some credit. You might say it's total BS, but it's pretty good. It's funny, actually. But my Uncle Alan, he actually knows the entire dialogue to The Green Berets. That's very impressive. And John Wayne, again, he basically directed this movie with Ray Kellogg only getting technical credit. So John Wayne knew how to direct a good movie. I actually should rewatch this movie. I mean, he got LBJ's assistance with this film. That's very, very impressive for the time in which it was made. It's probably the granddaddy of all Vietnam War movies, and that makes it an essential in my book. So there you go. Uncle Alan, I just gave love to your favorite John Wayne movie. I hope you put up your poster that I got you. I really do. Anyway, that's the 10th movie on this list. And I hope with this video you were able to learn about something that you didn't know about John Wayne before. Learn about his films that are not The Shootist and Stagecoach and The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance and oh, what's another great one? The Quiet Man. Like, those are all great films, but the point is he had a bunch of films that went under the radar that are still just as great. Thank you for watching this video, and again, happy one day late birthday to the great John Wayne. I'm Emily Graziano, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.